G'day everybody, Argsy here. Welcome along to a map preview of the new Australian Farms 22 map from Hocks23. Now this map is due to be out in just a few days, across the weekend of the 8th and 9th of June. By the time we've got this video edited and released, it will only be a day or two away. Now this map, before we get into it, is a 4x map, so it is only on PC. Once again, apologies to the console folk, but if you do want to play one of Hocks' map, I do suggest checking out Southern Cross Station for a good Australian map. But that's not what we're talking about today. We are talking about this one, which is Australian Farms. So we'll get in, we'll take a look at the PDA, have a look at the equipment. We're at the starter farm right now. We'll get a bit of a look around, and I'm going to do the map tour just a little bit differently for this one. There's kind of a couple of areas when you get into the PDA to see what we want to focus on, and the rest is just really farmland. So we will go and take a little bit of a look at that by flying around rather than doing a drive around. I think we'll be able to see a little bit more and be a little bit more efficient with the time. So let's dive into the PDA and take a look. So taking a look here at the PDA for Australian Farms. Now it is loosely based in an expansion of Aussie Farms. Now we spend a lot of time playing on that with FSG in our multiplayer series, and a lot of these areas in through here are very similar, not the same, but very similar to what was on Aussie Farms. This was the starter farm in Aussie Farms. We put our sheep pen in there. We've got the irrigation ponds. There's a couple of big irrigation ponds. And that is about where the similarities end. Now, there's no town at the top like Aussie Farms had, and there is a town down the bottom, but it is substantially expanded. So we'll go and take a look at that. We're over here. This is the main starter farm here. And scattered around there is a few other small farmyards with a few sheds and things like that, but nothing quite as well set up as this one. So we'll go and take a look at that. Now I am going to do the tour just a little bit differently. We're going to fly around and take a look across these areas because, like I said, there's not actually a huge amount to stop and focus on that a trip in a car might solve. So we're going to fly around and have a look at that, but we will focus our attention a little bit down here on the town and just some of the aspects of that. Now, the all-important questions around fields. There's 70 fields in total, varying in size. And the smallest one I've managed to find is plot 60. If we just jump into the menu there, plot 60 over here is just over 10.85 acres, or 10.85 acres, and just over $175,000 in value. It's actually a grass field, and there's a few grass fields scattered around. And right next to it, plot number 50 here is 151 acres and just under $2.5 million, and this is the most expensive plot of the lot. Now there is some plots that come with multiple fields, as this one does. You can see fields 63 and 70 forming part of plot number 50. So as you look around, you might spot some more of these. 54, another example there, where you do get a couple of fields. Those ones are actually, they are arable fields. 40, much the same. So a good assortment and a good variety of sizes, including shapes. There's some really regular shaped square fields here, and then as you look around, there's a few more organic ones, little obstructions in the middle of them, sort of little cutouts around trees and things like that. So yeah, nice variety, which is something that I always enjoy having, particularly if you're using courseplay and those kind of things. It always makes it a bit more interesting having an interesting field shapes. Now, one of the other things I have noticed looking around when I purchased all the farmlands is there's no animals built in, so there's no pens or anything placed. There's a couple of spots which would be really well suited to having an animal farm or a setup for animals, particularly if you look around some of these areas like this, which have some grassland attached to it. Field 58, 55 down the bottom, the one we said there, and even this plot up here is pretty well set up. There's a little bit of a barn and things like that, but there isn't actually any placed pastures. So if you did want to run animals, cows, sheep, pigs, chickens, or horses, you would have to go through and place those yourself. Now looking around at the crops, there is a few custom crops added in here, similar to what we saw on Aussie Farms. We've got rye, alfalfa, clover, chickpeas, and lentils just on top of the standard base game crops. So everything is pretty much available. You can see some cotton, there's sugar beet. Everything is growable on the map. As well as that, obviously you can see down in the town there is a huge number of sell points. Sugar mill, there's a grain corp bunker, cotton, there's some stations, Bly stations. It does have one required mod, which is the BC Bueller's commodity sheds, which uses the seed shed, chemical store, and the fertilizer shed. So that is the only required mod. But as you look around, full exchange, milling group, there's just a huge amount of sell points down in there, and then more around. We've got Grain West Corp over that side. There's a debris crusher up the top here. We've got an Australian Grain Exporters and Grains Australia. So not just focus down here in town, there is a reason to go to some of the expanses. Now, there is a train track which runs down the map here, comes across and back across that way. No train or anything on it. There's no sell points or anything associated with the train. So it is just there as a crossing point. As well as all the sell points, the town does have a lot of different productions scattered in around. This is pretty common and kind of a feature of Hocks' maps. He has a town area which will focus on that, and I think that's a very Australian thing too. You know, these small towns are the sort of centre of the rural areas, and then all the farmland expands out and around, so you don't see things kind of scattered around quite as much as you might in other areas. So that's a look at the PDA. That's a little bit of a talk about things. Let's go and take a look around the starter farm here, what we start out with, because this is the most detailed and built up of the farms, and a huge assortment of equipment. Like I said, no modded equipment or anything like that that's included. It is all just base game stuff. So, but I think you can start to get a sense for how big the map might be just by the amount of equipment. We've got a couple of combines there, a couple of New Holland combines. We've got a double trailer. In the back there, we've got the John Deere 8RT at the front. We've got a big versatile Rostral Mesh. Sorry, I was going to say it's a versatile, but of course versatile is not by default in the game. So that is the Rostral Mesh. We've got a Mack truck as well. Grain auger or grain silo, grain bin in the back there, auger wagon, and Massey Ferguson, which actually looks really good with those dual wheels front and back. In the back behind here, I'll take a quick little look. We do have a flatbed or low loader trailer. So if you do get into any grass work or baling, you can pick those up and load them out. So again, nice big shed, nice big clear span shed, and lots of storage space. There's a farmhouse over yonder. You can see that over there. So the sleep trigger associated with that if you need it. And then we're coming over to this side, which is more of an implement shed. So we do have a cultivator there. I'm actually familiar with what that one is. A-line speed tiller power flex. So that is what we've got there. Another field cultivator there. That's the Vaderstat NZ Extreme. I'm not sure. I've always wondered the NZ whether that relates to New Zealand or not. I've never ever understood that, but I have seen it. Hardy Commander. We've got a sprayer. The planter there, Lincoln Solitaire planter. Amazon spreader. We've got a couple of attachments back there. Bale spike and a pallet fork. While we're looking around, there is collectibles scattered around too, so I've got a couple here. I'm not sure what they're worth actually. Let's have a quick look. $1,000 a pop. So not life changing, but if you do want a little bit of extra money, that is available. Pressure washer, nice to see. Pressure washer on the map. What else do we have? Go over and have a look at this next shed and see what's in there. And then we've got the other one down the end there. So like I said, lots of sheds, lots of storage space. And there's lots of actual open space around as well. Lots of space where you did want to put some animals down, have some pastures or something like that. You could actually do it around the yard quite simply. I've got some other things over there, but we've just done a full lap of this shed without finding a way in. Alright, here we go. Very similar shed to what we had on Aussie farms as well. The one door that goes that way, just storage space in there. I think if we come back, the two doors sort of overlap. They can be a little bit tricky to find the trigger on. Here we go. Have a look in here, and I'm not sure, do we have a workshop trigger? I should have my triggers turned on. There we go. There is a workshop trigger in there, so you can come in and work on your equipment, maintain it. So we'll carry on. Let's go and have a look over the other side. Diesel tank, and if we just put our sprinting legs on, we've got a bit more equipment over here in the shed as well. All your grassland equipment actually, so we've got a mower, tedder, windrower, another bale trailer there as well, round baler, and the class tractor with the front loader on it and the bucket, so that you can use with your attachments and go and get things picked up out of the field. Get on over this way. Again, move a little bit faster. This is probably the only thing that really, in my opinion, lets things down just a little bit. It is just the farmer base game Unia grain silo, so it would have been nice to have something a little bit bigger, but it will work. It stores your grain, and that's really what you want it to do. And of course, you're welcome to go in and put whatever you want on it if you want to. And just one more shed. A little bit of a look to get up into that one, but I don't think any equipment will struggle. But again, nice big open shed. You could even use that, I suppose, because it's got the concrete walls. You could use that as a grain store. Some grain on the ground. as is practice in other parts of the world. So that is pretty much a look here at the starter farm, where you start off with the equipment you will have from the moment you load in, if you choose to start on new farmer mode. Now, we're going to jump up in the air, we're going to fly over the farm, have a little bit of a look, and then we're going to head down to the south and take a look at the town. So leaving the farm now, we're just going to take a little bit of a look from overhead, head on down the road into the town. As you can see from here, it's quite a well-developed town actually. There is quite a lot of detail to it. Now one thing, as we go across the gates there is good access into all the fields. There's nothing I've found that's narrow or tight or anything like that. Now you can start to see some of the aspects in here. This is very similar to Aussie farms. Got the couple of sheds in there. That was where the main starter farm was on Aussie farms. There is a couple of sheds and a lot of space in there if you'd wanted to build up your own farmyard. And you can just sort of see, looking across in the distance, there's a few more barns or sheds just scattered around. We've got one sort of over that way in the centre, there's one over that way, a couple more down there as well. That brings us into the town, and we're just going to have a little bit of a look around. Got the fuel station back there as we came in. But a really good network of roads actually, and a huge amount of sell points, and that scattered around. The bowling alley down there below us, which we know is a sell point. Number of houses and things like that, so it kind of has a residential and a little bit of a industrial build up to it as well. So you can sort of look across, and we'll bring up the map in just a second, but one of the sell points over there with the silos. So let's just take a look at the map, just get our bearings on where things are at. I'm not going to go through all the icons. We did see the gas station on the way in, and the sell point I pointed out was the milling group over that way, and obviously the bowling restaurant back behind us. But we do just have a huge amount of different things. Cereal factory, farmers market, great processing units, the carpentry, fast food restaurant, sell point, oil mill. Just a huge amount of different areas that you can look at. Now as we just carry on around this side, we've got the cooperative sort of areas. We've got the fertilizer, the seed, and the liquids supply areas. So we've got the one down there and the other two up over this way. So that's where you can come to buy your commodities. We've got a sell point down there for cotton. So if you are using cotton, obviously quite a common crop in Australia, you can do that. And then just basically just looking around without getting too carried away at all the different buildings, different sell points, different areas. Sort of one of the traditional or more Australian outdoor grain storage points just there as well. And then just taking a look down here, this is the sugar mill down below us, so it looks like some outdoor covered sugar beet heaps or something like that. But yeah, just a very nicely detailed, nice little town area, lots of different features, lots of different sell points and production points that you can come and use. Now one thing I do have a little bit of a gripe with is that the town is viable as a plot, but there's no individual plots, and that's something I've seen Hocks has done before, is actually have individual viable plots, but all of this green space in here is actually part of one big plot. So obviously PC only map, it's easy enough to buy that farmland and kind of adjust things without any issues. So if you did want to put down a separate production, bring in something like, oh I don't know, the farm productions warehouse and put it in a spot like that, you could do that. So just to show you, there we go, $4.2 million, and that does buy all the river area, all the sell points and things like that. So it is viable, but obviously you can, if you know what you're doing, using EasyDev, add some money in or buy that farmland and transfer it to you anyhow. There we go, that is that's the town area. I don't think there's too much else to look at, so we're going to go for a little bit of a cruise around the map, just talk about a few things as we go, and just have a look. So we're going to head down this way, head around the perimeter, head down to what is some of the larger fields, and we're a few other aspects down there. Before we do, I was just going to have a look at where the vehicle buy point is. I think that might be the shop, just down there with the big concrete area. And yes, this is the shop area as I thought it was, so we're just going to jump into the menu, go through, buy a big combine, no matter which one it is. We're not going to be able to buy it, but we will lease that to see where they spawn. So there you go. Nice amount of space. If you had a header trailer or something like that, or even a bigger truck unit and trailer unit or something like that you were buying, lots of space around to be able to get things hooked up, which is always a plus. Some maps you do come across with very, very small shop areas, and if you get anything that's just a little bit bigger, can be a little bit difficult. But again, stored deliveries is a great mod to be able to solve that and avoid any issues. So let's carry on. As I was saying, we're going to head on down this way and go and take a look at some of the other parts of the farm. So as we leave the town, you can start to see some of the bigger fields which were sort of concentrated down this part of the map, obviously scattered around, but there was a larger number of them down here, and while they don't look very big when you're looking at the PDA, when you're flying over them and thinking about the fact a combine would take quite some time to get around the perimeter of that field on our left or the one on our right, they are very, very large, which is nice. It's good to have some big fields that you can sort of really sink your teeth into and get some big equipment out and have a play with. Now down here we do have the animal dealer, so even though there's no pre-placed animal purchase points, we do have the animal dealer down there, and then a BGA as well with a couple of big silos and lots of space and accessibility in there if you wanted to get into doing things with the BGA. Now crossing across the river, you can see just up there where the rocks are on the left around the river, that is the debris crusher. So if you're collecting rocks and want to sell them, that is where that is. And then we've got another one of our sell points down there as well. So if you do have to drive somewhere, this could be somewhere that you have to come to. Now we're going to carry on, head up this way, and just take another more general look at the map. Just going to sneak in here. Again, this is an area that doesn't have much from a farm perspective, but does have lots of space if you're wanting to build up an animal pasture or develop your own farm. So you've got a bin barn there, an open barn, as well as one of the span lift sheds. So nice little setup, nice little amount of space. And there's a few of those, like I said before, there's a few of those scattered all around the map, as are all the little dirt tracks. So it is a very interconnected map. Some 4x maps you feel like you have to drive around all over the place to get from A to B, but this one I think there's probably some good opportunities to be able to zigzag your way through and find different ways to get from A to B. So we'll carry on down this way. Getting up here, this is another area where I thought would be a good farm build. We've got this one little barn sort of in here on its own, but as you get across and out the road, right onto the intersection there, you can see we've got another shed, as well as one over the road, and lots of space again. This is one of the plots. This plot here, you buy the grass on the right hand side of the road, but it actually comes with this field here on the left. So a decent sized plot, and again, some good flexibility, good open spaces to be able to build your own farm up on, which is, I think, one of the key features on this. Is actually would be a really nice one to do a farm build on. And there's the one predefined farm that you can use, but everything else is completely up to you. We'll carry on following this road around. You can see our reference points, the main farm just there on the left of the buildings. You can see, I spun around a little bit further, you can see the silos in the distance, which is the town. We're just going to keep on heading our way along this road, get back across the transmission lines. Again, like I said, there's not a huge amount to stop and focus on, except for the fact there is a huge number of fields and they are all of a good size. Just crossing across the railway tracks, like I said, again, no train or anything with those, but it is a good little feature, and who knows, could be an addition that comes through in time. Down there on the right, another area that could be developed as a yard. You've got the track in there, but nothing else. So build your own sheds, come up with your own ideas. A little bit of area here, another gas station just as we're going over there, and another one of the sell points, a few little houses. So this would have been in Aussie Farms, the 2x map, this would have been where the main town was at the top end of the map, in and around this area. So these fields on here on the left are a little bit more familiar to anyone who has played on that map. But we're going to carry on up again. Not much to see, but we will take a look at it all. Random barn just scattered down there. Start to see some of the irrigation ditches getting across that way, back across to the reservoir. So that is all part of that. The road we were following before carries on all the way down here and all the way around. See another barn or another shed there on the left. Got some bales stacked up outside it. That is quite a big wide open shed, as well as the one here on the right. And then we're just going to go across, and we do have another sell point just down here. I think this was Aussie Grain Exporters, one or the other, which were the two that were up this end of the map. But as you can see, and as we look back across and start to look at the size of this field, there is some big areas interspersed with some smaller ones. So a good variety of fields and a good variety of sort of field styles. Just as I look across there, you can see the power lines running across that one, and that always adds for a bit of a challenge. So just be mindful of your farmyards if you're buying them, or your farmlands when you buy them. So we're heading back down the side of the map here. Again, just a reference point looking back across the middle. You can't quite make out the farm, but the two sheds there that are side by side are the original starter farm for Aussie Farms. So we did have a look at those before, and then you can start to see some of those sheds that I pointed out as we're heading down into town. But just a nice looking map. It's got a nice feel, really Australian, as all of Hocks' maps have been. Just have this really neat Australian vibe, and very much loved by the community, particularly those in Australia and New Zealand, but also wider. I think some of the Aussie maps have had a real love. Seen a lot of love in Farming Simulator, so long may that continue, and hopefully we'll see maybe an official map coming from Giants for the next version of the game. Who knows? Anyhow, we'll carry on down this way. Just keep on moving around. We'll be back in town in no time. Again, more sheds, more space that you can have your own little yard. So plenty of opportunities. In fact, thinking about it from a multiplayer point of view, if you ruled out the starter farm, the main farm, as somewhere someone started from, and made some of these plots available, you could actually have quite a cool farm set up with people sort of choosing their areas based on where the sheds are, what land might come with them, things like that, and sort of letting them go to town and building up. Could be one we might consider putting on the Argsy gaming community and having it set up as a server. We will just have to wait and see. Anyhow, after that long-winded trip and me talking the whole way around, it's brought us back into the main town, back to where we started off going around. So, like I said, I don't think there is a huge amount that we need to go and look at anywhere else on the map. We've checked out the main farm, the main starter farm. We've had a look around the town, highlighted some of the features that are existing down here, and then we've had a good tour around looking at everything around the map. So there's not much else to say except for another smashing job by Hocks. Really enjoy playing on his maps, and I'll certainly be looking to find a time and the opportunity to have a play on this one. It'd be nice to get back to some sort of bigger Australian farming like we have done in the past. So yeah, let's see what we can do with having a play on this. Let me know in the comments, is this a map you're going to play on? Is this something that's sparked your interest, or might be the map that you need to reinvigorate your passion for Farming Simulator as we wait for any announcements or any news on the new game? Let me know. Be keen to hear what you think of it. But huge thank you to Hocks for allowing me to have access to this before the map has been released. I really appreciate the support and partnership we have there. It's always nice to be able to help others out. So there we have it, Australian Farms 22 by Hocks23. Coming out this weekend for Farming Simulator 22. Keep an eye on his Facebook page. I'll share a link down in the description so you can find that, and I'll be sure when it is released to share it through my channels as well. But as always, thank you all very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this first look at Australian Farms, and we'll catch you in the next one.